Shelf Entertainment.
Ja, willkommen zurück zu Top Shelf Entertainment. Sitze ich hier mit Abyan. Wir löchern ihn gleich ein paar Fragen in den Bauch, wo er herkommt.
Originally from the Sunshine Coast, a little town called Roberts Creek.
A lot of growers out there?
A lot of growers out there for sure, yeah. I grew up in a really small kind of hippie community, similar to the Kootenays where we just were. A lot of people from the States after the Vietnam War skipped across the border to avoid the war, and a lot of them went to Nelson, and lots of them actually came out to the Sunshine Coast as well.
So another spot where a bunch of misfits grow fire?
Exactly.
What's your connection to cannabis?
Yeah, my father, main reason we were there is because he wanted to be away from the city, so my dad could grow cannabis freely. So right when I was born, they moved out there and bought 5 acres of property, built a house and a little farm. So yeah, he lived in Germany most of his life, and then after he finished his service out of the military, he left and traveled the world finding hash, making hash, and exporting and importing hash out of different countries.
Wow, so cannabis is a family business?
Yeah, it's been around for a long time.
What a circle too, like your dad's German, out here in Canada, and now we're bringing Canadian weed back to Germany?
It's funny because he taught me how to roll joints, he taught me how to trim, he taught me kind of everything about it.
True, good father.
Yeah, and now I'm teaching him about different plant sciences, genetics, supply chain, so yeah, it's pretty interesting how it's kind of completely come around. I originally was working for a mail order marijuana site, mom site we call it here in Canada, doing branding, distributions, a bunch of different things on the illicit side. Once legalization kind of came forward, our company decided to go and buy a licensed producer and become a licensed processor as well as a medical site. One of our initiatives was actually to bring legacy cannabis to market. So a lot of the micros that we had met or people that we knew that were cultivating and wanted to transition, we helped them come to market through our company, and Organnicraft was one of them.
For all the viewers out there, legacy actually means illegal, right? Canadians are just too charming to really say illegal, and it kind of spikes eyebrows, so we say legacy.
You say legacy, or traditional is another word that we've used before.
Honestly, legacy I think fits well because these people are mostly the real legends the stories that should be told, right?
People have been growing 30, 35 years, have been around the space, but until the last, whether it was 7 years, that was not allowed. It was completely illegal. So
yeah, I've never saw such a high concentration of true legacy growers. The Kootenays is truly special.
It is, yeah, very unique area.
Tell the viewers a little bit something about the Kootenays.
It's very close to the American border. It's about a 45-minute drive from Nelson, the main town there. And they all came across the border, and because they were essentially illegals in Canada, this would have been the 60s. They couldn't really get jobs or do anything, so a lot of them were hippies, if you will, and they grew cannabis. So that area became a huge cannabis growing facility as well as distribution because of the proximity to the border and because a lot of Americans had a lot of ties still down in America. So they would cultivate in Canada, get it across the border, and sell it. Because back in those days, there wasn't a lot of good cannabis in America. A lot of stuff was coming out of Mexico, and no one was really growing because there was a huge war on drugs down there. So if you have the knowledge and the genetics, you can come across the border to Canada and grow absolute fire and send it back. There's a lot of good money to be made. Yeah,
but the Kootenays, I mean, seriously, incredible. Even Nelson in itself as a town is so fucking cool.
It's a beautiful place, yeah.
Beautiful place, beautiful people, beautiful cannabis.
Yep.
Yeah, and we met some true legends while we were there. And it truly shows, that the intricacies of their passion, translates into the entire operation, just leading to a phenomenal product. Something that really differs to, the large masses of product that you get here in Canada, which is mainly focused on THC and bud appeal. No, we're trying to bring back those terps, and the Kootenays have those terps.
Yeah, we saw some of the best cannabis in Canada in the last 5 days that you guys have been here. It's a real treat to work with these people and know them because the stories they tell, the love they put into the product, it's just like nothing else.
Living soil, hand craftsmanship at work, genetics are phenomenal.
We just kind of hit it off in our initiatives. So.
How did you like the weed in Germany?
Actually, not bad. I was pretty unimpressed around the rest of Europe. I was excited to find some stuff in Spain, and I did find a few good things in Spain, but overall, not that great. And then in Berlin, we bought some stuff when we were there, and then the hash event you took me to, all the live rosin, was fantastic. I was really impressed with that. So, yeah, Berlin's actually got some fire. I was not expecting that compared to what we see.
So Organnicraft IUVO, we're working together. Let's talk a little bit about that, how that works, right?
Chatted a lot, and then I came out and visited you, I guess this December in Berlin, spent 2 weeks with you. I had just started working at Kootenay Cultivar, and I was sitting outside, we were smoking a joint on your stoop there, and you were talking about your last trip here and the favorite things you saw. You were interested in the same things that we already kind of had in our portfolio. We continued to talk, and you kind of showed me what your initiative was, and I guess the main thing that kind of stuck with me, and you said it on this trip quite a few times too, is you want to smoke what the growers want to smoke, and I've never heard that before. In this legal industry now for 7 years, not a single person has ever said that, and I've worked with provincial boards, retailers, distributors from all over the world, and it's always been like, what's a COA? I don't even think you look at the COAs, honestly.
I know I do. I mean, they have to fit a bare minimum,
Yeah.
but after that, I sometimes I think it's a little insulting, to just boil it down to its THC content, right? I think what I hear the most is, a test set X, Y, Z. I don't really care, right? Like if the flavor, the experience there, if it's really high quality flower, of course it has to fulfill our pharmaceutical requirements, right? But I think that should be a bare minimum, right? I also think, if I buy coffee, I don't buy the coffee because it has the most caffeine in it, right? Like there's nuances to this whole luxury good natural product. Same with wine. I don't buy the wine that has the most alcohol in it.
No, not at all.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And just because it's a medicinal product, I think this, extreme focus on the active ingredient, which in this case is just THC because there's the most of it in it. Yeah. It's not necessarily the most therapeutically valuable, and we want to really bring high quality flower to market. What does top shelf mean to you?
Well, I guess the original saying is from like a bar. You have your basic stuff, and then you have your top shelf alcohol, which is your expensive, best quality, small batch, whatever it may be. And that's kind of exactly what this is. This tour here, we went around and looked at the best of the best. Super lucky to honestly get into those tours and meet those people. I was impressed that everything came together, but we saw the top shelf cannabis growers of Canada, the best out there in terms of genetics, cultivation styles, and personality. Like you got the full experience of seeing a mom to a clone to a finished product, and then be able to roll a joint and smoke that with the actual cultivator and owners of the company that have this amazing story of how they got into cannabis, how they became legal, the things they did to get there. It's part of the whole experience, and that to me is what top shelf is. It's not just a good number or a fancy brand. It's a full experience right from the start to the finish and the people that created it. To be completely honest, I didn't even know what high THC was until 7 years ago.
Yeah?
Yeah, well, we never talked about it. No one ever brought a pack over and said, hey, man, this is 25% THC. And I'm like, is that good? Like, I don't know. Like, what does it smell like? What's it taste like? How's it feel? How's it smoke? And then all of a sudden in, I guess, 2018 when it went legal, we had to talk about THC. And I remember like literally asking someone, I'm like, what is high THC? Like, is 10% good? It's just never been something we ever talked about. So a lot of us are learning about that now because we never had COAs, and if we did, we never cared. It was all about what the terpenes were, how it felt. But one of the strongest weed I've ever smoked was something that we grew many, many years ago. It was a diesel cross. It was about 16% THC, but 4.5, I think, overall terpenes. And the top terpene was terpinolene, 2% overall terpinolene, which is really high. Yeah. That was the most stoned I've ever been, for sure. Off something, it was wild, and it's 16%. So like we brought that to market. We won awards for it and all this stuff, but we couldn't sell it because retailers wouldn't bring it in. The provincial bodies didn't want to bring it in because they're like, it's so low. And at that point, you couldn't really sell anything that was below 20%. So I pushed it to get it through. And people that bought it loved it. They were raving online, but we couldn't sell it.
Yeah, what an absurdity, right? We deal with the same shit in Germany. It's basically the pharmacist that always tells us, looks at the COA, their THC's never had the flower before, and asks us, who cares what top shelf is, right? But let's actively change that. I think it should be our mission to educate people in that supply chain that don't actually have the passion and the interest in the product themselves, but the people that grow it, which have the passion, and the people that consume it that also have that passion. Let's build that bridge. It's time to make that change.
You guys are telling that story, and it's a breath of fresh air when I met you and to meet your team and hear you guys actually pushing for this. because the last 7 years have been majority of people pushing us to grow genetics that are high THC, which is not the best cannabis a lot of times.
No.
And if you're only focusing on one thing, you're really leaving a lot outside of what can actually add to therapeutic benefits and the overall experience. So it's amazing to actually meet.
Yeah, stop minimizing cannabis.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Stop putting it into a fucking jacket of THC. You know, I completely agree with you. There's a lot of terps that need to be discovered, rediscovered, and brought to market. Think about all the genetics that are in the fucking graveyard of time
That are
because
amazing.
they didn't hit
Oh,
the
God.
THC limit.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about the products that you guys have at Organnicraft.
Yeah, we're super excited to get that into market. It's a kind of a crazy story. We did a pretty big pheno hunt over the last 2 years. We buy seeds from America, from friends around the Okanagan and all over Canada. We're always hunting, popping seeds, looking for new stuff. And we also talked to a lot of friends from the legal and legacy market that are willing to share genetics with us or whatever. Sometimes it's given to us. It was an LSO grow, like living soils, organic, but in a greenhouse. I smelt it the first time. I was like, there's chocolate in the smell. And like you hear people say chocolate terps or cake terps or whatever, and it's never really like,
No,
it's not really a thing. If you hear about
I didn't buy it when you told me.
I remember that.
Yeah, you told me it had chocolate terps. I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, it's because I've heard that too, but like I actually could smell chocolate, busted it up, kind of went away. I'm like, okay, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe there was some cake in this bag before, who knows? And then I smoked it, and on the exhale is where you really notice it, this sweet chocolate birthday cake, a little bit spicy, but like not sweet in the way of like citrus or fruit. It's like an actual proper like baked good dessert.
Yeah.
And I've never found something like that. And we just went for it. Completely shot in the dark. Had 2 mums bulked up, I think 4 maybe bulked up, cut as many clones as we could, filled the room. No prior growing experience, 1 COA. We knew it came back disease-free because we did send it out to a few different labs. And just completely filled the room with it. And massive risk, probably a horrible decision, honestly, but we got really lucky and it worked out.
Yeah, hell yeah. You got lucky, we got lucky, and patients in Germany are about to get lucky. Incredible. It's actually really one of the hardest profiles to describe. It really does have those cakey, sweet terps, but there's something pungent, almost herby in it. Once you blow it out, it has like chocolate terps, and no, it's phenomenal.
It's a conversation piece for sure. You can sit. I mean, you've been talking about it for 2 weeks straight.
Hell yeah, no, honestly, and I've been thinking about it all the time straight because it's such a unique profile, right? And the flowers, the buds themselves, I remember seeing that. I mean, before I even came here, I was in Portugal, and they're symmetric. They're so symmetric, it's almost weird.
It's like a little bit strange the way it grows because it's kind of perfect.
It's all mid-size, mid to large size, dark purple, very frosty buds.
Yeah. It's super easy to trim. It's super easy to grow. It's been actually a dream working with it. So we're super happy because I know when we first got it into the first few weeks of production, the grow team was like, this is awesome. I hope this works. And I was getting a little bit hesitant because a lot of times the growers get hyper-focused on what is going to be the best yielder or it's going to be the easiest to grow or what it looks like. And they kind of get removed because they're in the grow room all day, every day. And they're calling me. I was like, oh man, this thing is growing so nice. And I was like, it's so good. It's going to be so good. I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, am I crazy? I'm like, did I even smell that chocolate, that first bag that I got?
Shit, I know exactly how you feel.
I started doing it myself.
Yeah, no. I always do the same, right? Even here, all this was based on my trust on you saying it's fire.
We did a 3rd pheno hunt after those last 2 I was talking about. And the 3rd one, we actually ended up getting 8 genetics that hit. Potency, unique profiles, good yields. So we're super lucky now to have.
It's about time we bring those terps to market. We tell that story, the roots from the coots, and bring that flower to patients' hands.
A lot of these guys have been doing nothing but cannabis for their whole life. A lot of it's generational. Like that story we're talking about, the draft dodgers, a lot of those guys' grandfathers or moms and dads had been a part of that world, so it's been passed down. You don't really have that in a lot of other places in Canada or in the world where you have generational cannabis growers. And because of that, the community has been heavily focused around it, so a lot of knowledge and genetics have been shared. So a lot of these guys we see are actually breeding their own stuff from stuff that they hunted from California or Afghanistan or wherever, Amsterdam. Like seeds have been collected, they've been crossbred, and it's kind of stayed in this like close-knit little community. So it's something really special because you have flavor profiles and techniques that are really native to the area that have not spread out because they work so closely in a community.
Well, Abyan, again, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for answering those questions. Can't wait to bring that flower to Germany and smoke that in Berlin.
I can't wait to come back to Berlin and smoke it again there.
Let's do it.